Welcome back. I'm Jim Sciutto in New York. President Obama's choice to be the so-called Ebola Czar has, from the moment of his selection by the president, left some people puzzled. That's because Ron Klain is not a doctor or a healthcare expert. He is a longtime Washington lawyer with a good deal of insider knowledge and contacts as a former chief of staff to Vice President Biden, as well as to former Vice President Al Gore. But is he the right man for this job? That's just one of the questions I have for Chairman Ed Royce. He's California Republican, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Chairman Royce, thank you very much for taking the time on a Sunday.
Thank you, Jim. Well, in terms of that question, yes.
I'll go ahead and ask you. You know what I'm going to ask you. Is Ron Klain the right man for the job?
Well, you know, I think this position as czar was the step in the right direction, and I very much supported that. The issue I raised was, do we want somebody with a background in infectious diseases, you know, someone with some connections to public health? And I raised the issue because after the hearings that we've held on this, it would seem that in coordinating this, not only nationally but internationally, it would be very helpful to have that type of background.
Let me ask you this question, because, as you know, that we have a Surgeon General in the country. The trouble is the president has nominated a Surgeon General. That's Vivek Murthy. But the post on an interim basis because he can't get that nominee confirmed by Congress. If Congress had confirmed that, the Surgeon General, wouldn't that job in effect already be filled? Wouldn't you have then the lead for the country's fight against Ebola?
Actually, in terms of coordinating these government agencies, it would be the responsibility of the czar to do that, and that would not be the job of the Surgeon General. So that is a different responsibility. Now, the Surgeon General can explain, or the acting Surgeon General can explain some steps to the American public, but the step of putting in place a czar, which is what I had indicated I thought should be done and what the administration believes is exactly should be done, is the right step. And it is the czar's responsibility then to do the coordination, not just here in the United States, but as I mentioned, especially in West Africa, where we have a real problem with the World Health Organization stepping this thing up and doing it right. So far, it's been very disappointing seeing what the World Health Organization has done in those three governments, and that has to be addressed immediately. This czar will have that responsibility as well.
But let me ask that question again, perhaps in a different way, because I think folks back home might have the same question. Washington is partisan, to say the least. There are a lot of agencies, overlapping agencies, whether we're talking about DHS regarding terror threats, many different health agencies. You've got the Department of HHS, you got a Surgeon General post not filled, now you have a drug czar. Are we adding another layer of decision-making and bureaucracy here when you got the folks in place to make these decisions, but you just don't have a government that seems to be moving quickly enough with this crisis or any other challenge? Doesn't it get to that wider issue?
No, I think at the end of the day, the problem is you have to have one individual who is calling the shots, making the decisions, and has the ability to cut through all of these different government agencies, and not just here in the United States, but as I indicated, the World Health Organization. Now, the British are taking the lead in Sierra Leone on the ground, the French in Guinea, we in the United States in Liberia. All of this has to be coordinated as well, and frankly, we're a little disappointed at this point in terms of what's happening in Guinea. That needs to be ramped up quickly. So you need that coordination, to say nothing of the fact that you've got to also address these issues that I've raised. Visas are still being issued in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Guinea every day. That makes no sense right now. In the past, in 2009, when we had the influenza, what happened? Where we had a situation, we put a stay, we put a hold on that. Visas weren't issued until we got the situation under control. That's what should be happening right now. But until somebody steps into this post and says, okay, I'm going to lead, here are the instructions to all the government agencies, apparently on their own, they're not making the right decisions.
Well, let me ask you about that if I can, because you said you want U.S. embassies to stop issuing visas to foreign nationals from these countries. Do you also favor a travel ban, though, the next step from these countries? Do you think that's necessary today?
Well, I think effectively what I've suggested will solve that problem, because What it will mean is a travel ban for those traveling for tourism or for whatever purpose from those 3 countries. It will still allow health workers to travel in and travel out. So I think in terms of, meeting the need of containment, which should be our #1 goal here, contain this disease, the answer there is to do what we've done in the past in 2009, and that is to take push the pause here in terms of writing those visas every day, and let us get a better control on getting in place the ways in which we're going to be able to test, because right now it's quite questionable. If somebody flies to Europe and then flies here and they're infected, we don't have the types of tests like a blood test ready yet where you can instantaneously find out, okay, this is someone carrying, or this one is someone who isn't. Until all of that's done, I think you've got to put a hold on those visas.
Well, it seems like the country is learning as it's doing here, getting up to speed on how to respond to this. Chairman Ed Royce, thank you very much for joining us and taking the time.
Thank you,
vaccine.